Hello again, everybody. My name is John D. Healy. I do a podcast called It's Good to Talk. Got into podcasting because I produced this book myself during lockdown for my friend Stoney McGurn. Stoney was born in 1941. The book is all his life stories from 1941 up until now, actually. People do ask me, is he still alive? He's very much alive, actually. Sponsors of Liffey Van Lines, a moving company here in New York City, and they've been around longer than Jeopardy, named after the river in Dublin, the Liffey. So Liffey is running very smoothly. When it comes to moving, let Liffey do the lifting. Shout out to Paddy McCarthy of the Irish Examiner USA, newspaper here in the New York area. And Paddy is from Cork. He writes knowledge of music and many things. Paper is good for events and some stories from overseas as well. Always have an interesting guest on. Today will be no exception. Martha Higgins has produced her first novel. So hello, Martha, and you're welcome to It's Good to Talk. Tell my audience about you, where you're from, and how you got into writing.
Hello, John. It's lovely to be here. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Welcome.
I live in Ballysadare now in County Sligo. I'm from the border with Roscommon, between Boyle and Ballymote. Many of your listeners may know that area well. So actually on the county boundary between Roscommon and Sligo. So I would have gone to secondary school in Boyle. So Boyle, I'd be very familiar with Boyle. I've been writing for a long time, but this is actually my first novel. I mainly wrote short stories, wrote for magazines, community magazines. This book is set in County Leitrim, actually, near Carrick and Shannon. There's also a section that's in Dublin, and there's a visit to London. And we also have a character who lived in America in the book.
All right, so give us a little bit of the influence. I know it's your first book, but have you written short stories before, anything like that?
I have written short stories, and my stories generally tend to be rural. I love the countryside. It's my favourite place to be. So this is a rural, while there's parts of it are in the city because characters move there. It's very much a rural book, and the characters and the countryside and the life are heavily intertwined.
Okay.
And my short stories would have been similar to that too.
Okay. And this book, the title is called?
It's called Hiding from the Heart. I can hold it up now.
Hiding from the Heart.
The other way, yeah. Hiding from the Heart, it is, yeah. And that's a line, I got the title from a line in the book.
Okay, good. That's a good idea. I read some of the reviews of it, I guess, or previews of it, and one of your people compared you to Maeve Binchy. The pleasure of meeting Maeve Binchy, once upon a time, it was after the Late Late Show in Dublin. I'll tell you an interesting thing about Maeve Binchy. When I met her, it was after the Late Late Show. We were all outside the studio, and I was standing tall, as I do, and a bunch of young teenage girls gathered around Maeve Binchy with their pins and looking for autographs.
Yes.
And then they all started screaming at Maeve, Maeve, tell us how to write a book. And Maeve hushed them like a school teacher. Well, she was a school teacher.
Yes.
So I'm going to tell you how to write a book. So she told the girls and myself, because I'm curious, you write one page every day, Maeve said, and at the end of a year, then you have a book, 365 pages. So I thought it was good advice from Maeve. She was a school teacher. She didn't have any children herself, but she was regarded as a beautiful person, but a beautiful aunt, like an auntie, like she'd be the doting aunt, I suppose. Your books, Hiding from the Heart, the titles are kind of intertwined as well, like Circle of Friends and stuff like that. Does your book have like a time frame? Is it the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, or the 90s?
Actually, the book begins in 1975 and it finishes in 1980. It's a 5-year span of the book.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the story of my life.
Yes.
5 years, adventures. Okay, and give us don't give away the book to us because that'll be too much. Give us a sample of the characters. Many characters are in the book.
Well, the main character is Colette. And she's when we meet Colette, she's 17 years old and she's in her final year in secondary school. But her father suffers a stroke and she has to leave school and run the farm. So she has a best friend, Mags. Her mother and father feature a lot in the book. Her neighbour, Peg, is the lady who lived in America. So she learns about America from Peg, from listening to her stories. So she has a very tough time, Colette. She finally manages to get back to school when her father improves, and then she goes to work in Dublin, which was very common at that time for girls in particular. They migrated to Dublin for work, and particularly to work in the civil service, and that's what she does.
Okay. That's
She has a relationship that falters, so she has a lot of challenges before things work out for her.
well, interestingly enough, I like the way you say that, challenges, because a famous quotation that Maeve Binchy has said, and Maeve said it even on French, Maeve spoke French, and she said it on French television, and she spoke in France. And her philosophy in life was you have to play the hand you're dealt. So whatever
Yes.
life throws at you, you make the
Yes.
best of it. So this sounds like your character, Colette, has to play the hand she was dealt, and it's ups and downs,
Yes,
very much true to life.
that's exactly what it is. She does have to play the hand she's dealt. I think most people have to do that. Life is full of
Oh yeah,
challenges, and it's about how you deal with them. And I suppose nobody knows their strength until they get into hot water. And then,
that's true.
or in the deep end, thrown in the deep end or get into hot water. Either way, then
Either
that's
way.
when you find out where the strength is, and that's the same with Colette. It's how she finds her strength is in the challenges.
Well, it's like this podcast, Martha Higgins, my guest today. It's not a rehearsal. We do it real. So life is not a rehearsal either. It's very much real. Whatever
Indeed.
happens, happens, and you got to make the best of it or deal with the situation. So a little bit more about your character, Colette. So has she dreams of America,
Yeah,
or is it from her neighbours?
she does. Colette's favourite programme is the Mary Tyler Moore Show. She loves it. And
Okay,
and that's America, and that's wonderful. And she
okay,
dreams of a life like Mary Tyler Moore, where
okay.
she'll have a glamorous job, she'll drive her own car, and she'll be independent. But of course, that's not what works out for her. But that
No,
is what she dreams about. And
right.
then life throws her much different things. And she
Okay.
meets those challenges. They're tough for her because she has a relationship with Robbie that flounders because Robbie has a tragedy and is not able to cope with it. So she has to deal with the loss of him as well. So she has, at a young age, she has dealt with a lot of loss in her life because
Mm,
while her father has a stroke and he's still there, he's not the same person. So she has
okay.
that loss, and then she has the loss of her boyfriend. So it is tough for her.
Mm,
And I think I'm very flattered that I would be mentioned along with Maeve Binchy because
of course.
I was a huge admirer of her work. I loved her
Absolutely.
stories, her
And I
characters, everything.
absolutely.
She was a marvelous
Yeah.
writer. Yeah, she really
Indeed, she
was.
was. And indeed, Mary Tyler Moore had brought a lot to the world of like women's rights,
She did.
especially to
Yes,
do with employment. There's one
yes,
scene in one of her shows where she challenges her boss why she should get paid less money than she get paid for doing the same work. And it really
yes.
highlighted that in a very strong way. Other things I remember of her is that in her real life, she smoked cigarettes, but she never smoked on camera. She didn't
Yeah.
want to be a bad influence. So I think I'm going to ask my young friend, Jimmy Grady, to sing a song for you, Martha, to celebrate your book, and a song for our audience. Jimmy's going to sing a song today, which is kind of a bit like your character, Colette, is going to sing the Isle of Hope. I think it's about
Oh,
Ellis Island. Yeah, it's about Ellis Island.
yeah.
And he's going to sing it from a cruise ship. Good man, Jimmy. Jimmy, please sing a song for Martha Higgins, myself, and the guests.
On the first day of January 1892, they opened Ellis Island and they let the people through. And the first to cross the threshold of that Isle of Hope and Tears was Annie Moore from Ireland, who was all of 15 years. Isle of Hope, Isle of Tears, I love freedom, I love fears, but it's not the isle you left behind. It's that Isle of hunger, Isle of pain, Isle you'll never see again. But the Isle of home is always on your mind. In the little bag she carried all her past and history, and her dreams for the future in the land of liberty. And courage is the passport when your old world disappears. But there's still future in the past when you're all of 15 years. I love hope, I love tears, I love freedom, I love fears, but it's not the isle you left behind. It's that isle of hunger, isle of pain, isle you'll never see again. But the isle of home is always on your mind. They closed down Ellis Island in 1943. 17 million people had come there for sanctuary. And in springtime when it came here, and I stepped onto its piers, I thought of how it must have been when you're all of 15 years. 'Cause I love hope, I love tears, I love freedom, I love fears, but it's not the isle you left behind. It's that isle of hunger, isle of pain, isle you'll never see again.
Thank you, Jimmy. And now my guest today is Martha Higgins, and her novel is her first book. She has a character in there, Colette, who has aspirations to be like Mary Tyler Moore. And Mary Tyler Moore had a quotation, I wrote it down: believe in yourself and keep going. So I suppose poor Colette had a lot to do in believing in herself and keeping going. The boyfriend, Bobby, was he a bit of a devil or was he an
No,
okay?
actually, Robbie is lovely. She does have an altercation with a man who's not on the local heartthrob that she was very interested in, but he proves to be not so nice at all when she gets to know him a bit better. But Robbie is a very, very good, and she's very happy with him. But Robbie has a lot of problems in his family, and unfortunately, those families' mental health issues affect him, and that brings an end to that relationship, which she finds devastating when it happens. Yeah.
Too much away. So I know you had the launch of the book, and your friend, and my friend indeed, Brian Layden, who has been on this show many times and has written several books himself, and he's featured on here. He's also my historian when I need facts on history. We did a review of the Good Friday Agreement. We compared it to the Michael Collins Agreement, and a lot of people were fascinated with the comparisons that Brian Layden and myself threw into that, and I enjoyed reading a lot of his books too.
Yes, his books are lovely. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, his books are lovely and they're well written and they're nicely done.
Yes, very much so. Yes.
So back to Maeve Binchy and others. Do you see, I see, if you don't see, the possibility that this book could at some point become a movie, a film, like all of Maeve Binchy's books turned into movies? And Colm Tobin, who's still alive, his story was Brooklyn. People will know Brooklyn, and the actress who Ronan.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. And it was a wonderful movie, and it really hit the big times here in the States.
Yes.
So would you think, like your book, say, and there's another guy in Sligo, another friend who has been on here too, James Dennison. And he does film and cinema. He is working on a movie called Capo, meaning the horse. And it's off scale, and that's produced by T.G. Carr. So I think he's just finishing up that. And he's very good at getting films and short films, especially, into competitions. So would you see the possibility of that happening, or if it happens, it's
I mean, obviously, John, I'd be delighted for something like that to happen. Of course I would. And I do think the book is filmable because all the scenes are there, the characters are there, you know, you have the country, you have the city. Yeah, I do think it could make a lovely film. And of course I would be delighted if that ever happened.
James and myself, we had a little chat about this book and about you indeed. And James, he's moved to a new location in Sligo, and he will be developing his casting agency. And myself, back in the, 80s, worked here in New York for Associated Artists. There are a casting studio here in the States. And I had the good fortune, again, I'm lucky with meeting people. I met Betty Davis there.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes. People would ask come in and out, and people often ask me when I met her, did she have Betty Davis eyes? Well, the answer is yes, she had Betty Davis eyes. She was a nice character. despite some nasty things about her, but not really nasty, but just her personality.
Yeah.
So I think your book would be a good fit, and I'm sure you have James in Sligo, and you have Brian, and you have the locations, of course, like Bray
Indeed.
Ireland, and
Yes.
you have all
Yes.
settings, you have Dublin, you have the countryside, and I'm sure if you work with James Dennison, you'll be able to get someone that could read the book, read the script, and you'll get a Colette, I'm sure. You'll get a Robbie, I'm sure, and you'll get the other villain guy, the bad guy, and you'll get Peg, I'm sure, and all the different ones. And they all
Yes.
read the script, and they have to have a passion for it too, you know. I think that's one thing
Yes.
about writing a book, or indeed acting. You have to have a passion for it. You have to love it.
That's true. Yes.
That's true. So let's see
Yes.
what else. Any more book launches coming up? I know you completed one.
Yeah, I had one in Sligo, which Brian Layden did the launch there, and it was a great evening. We had a lovely evening in Lieber Bookshop, and then we all went to Connolly's pub afterwards. So it was a great gathering and a lot of great chats and a lot of people. And Brian is great; he's very personable.
Oh, he is, yeah.
And then yesterday in Dublin, I had another book launch in the Teachers Club. In Parnell Square, which is a lovely building and a beautiful room. So we had a very nice one there during the day. And I have Galway next week. So next Thursday evening in Wards and Salthill in Galway. So that should be, I know a lot of people in Galway. I'm expecting a good turnout. So I think it'll be a lovely evening as well.
It will indeed. And I have more news for you too, here in New York City, where I'm speaking to you from. McGettrick is very involved in the Sligo Society of New York.
Yes.
And I had a quick chat with Pat McGettrick, and he said the Sligo Society here in New York will be promoting your book too and giving you 100%. Pat McGettrick said, Pat McGettrick always gives 100%. And I always tell him to always give 100% unless he's donating blood, which he's very careful.
That's fantastic, John. I mean, that's lovely to hear that. That's so nice. It's it's lovely to get support. It really is.
The Society of New York are very good.
Yeah.
The All Society is here in New York, and I know lots of people there too, and they will also be helping to promote your book here in this site. So it's good when you have those contacts.
Fantastic.
And it'll be great to see you as the next Maeve Binchy moving into the realm of publishing and film, maybe. Who knows? Why not?
Yes. Yes.
Big. So I'm going to give you the last word before I sign off in my native language, which is Irish. So tell us a little bit more. Are you a school teacher yourself, Martha? I don't know.
No, I worked in administration, John, mostly now. Yes, all my life I worked in administration. I'm not a teacher. Funny enough, some people do ask me that, so I must have a teachery look about me.
You have.
Yes, but I was over in New York. Actually, I was in New York in September last year, and it was lovely. I really enjoyed it.
Right. Well, Red Top is always out for you.
Yeah, I had some lovely walks around Central Park and Bryant Park. I thought was a lovely spot, so I really enjoyed being there. And I was in the Historical Society as well. Yes, the Irish Historical Society. That was a lovely building.
Beautiful building. Another organisation here, which I'll put the word out for you, is the IBO, which is the Irish Business Organisation. And those people are from all over. Some are members from Ireland. They get on, like what we're on camera, for meetings, and we have meetings in person. There's 4 meetings every month. So put the word out there for you. And another podcast similar to my own is called Irish Stew. And Irish Stew is put out by 2 gentlemen, John Lee and Martin Nutty. And I will put the word in there for you too. And that would be good for them to interview as well. Because we're similar, but maybe different audiences.
Sure.
My style is a little different from their style, but they have a lot of good guests on too. So my guest today is Martha Higgins. Podcast is called It's Good to Talk. If you like our conversation, do subscribe. Very important. So anything else to say, Martha, before I say so long?
I just want to say thank you, John, for having me. It was such a pleasure to talk to you and tell you about the book. And I'd love to be over in New York at some point. Maybe next year, we'll see. It would be lovely. So thank you very much.
And we'll look forward to helping you along the way, especially with James Dennison, Brian Layden, Pat McGettrick here in New York, of course.
Yes.
Pat always says, say no more, because he's from Sligo, but he does say a lot. With that, I'm going to sign off in my native language. Shin Scale, that means that's a story. Ella will have another story One says slán. So slán. Bye-bye.
Slán.